My cousin thinks she's going to get married in my big mansion for free. Well, that's not going to happen. I don't care how many Instagram followers she has. Hey guys, I've got to share some family drama with you all. I came here because I need to vent, and I need some advice on what's been going on lately. I'll have to provide some background information for this to all make sense, so this is going to be a long post. I'm 35 and female and have been heartbroken, and I've been heartbroken ever since the untimely death of my beloved fiancé. We're soulmates, head over heels in love, and I lost him in a horrible car accident last year. Truthfully, I still have not quite gotten over his death, but the stress I've been dealing with lately has been messing with the grieving process and adding even more strain on my mental health when I already have enough to deal with. After the man I was engaged to died in the terrible car accident, I received his recently purchased and recently renovated mansion. My lover had no remaining family to which to impart his assets to, so I received everything that he owned. It's a sprawling, luxurious palace, easily the biggest house in the city. My fiancé had it privately contracted in the city, and he was a successful stockbroker and on track to become one of the biggest investors in our city. I so looked forward to spending the rest of my days with him. The mansion was a wonderful parting gift, and it's a beautiful house, but it's a bittersweet reminder that I have this big, empty house, and I'd be so much happier if he was still alive and living in it. After handling the funeral and giving myself some time to grieve alone in my new house, I started getting back on social media in order to distract myself. I knew I could not sit around dwelling about my late fiancé forever, and I knew I had to start living in my life again. I'd recently taken up a hobby, photography, since I had received a new fancy cell phone from my deceased lover. Well, I began practicing my photography, taking photos of my new house. The house has an antiquated and royal look to it, almost like a castle, and it's very photogenic and absolutely beautiful. It was simply begging to be photographed, so I started taking photos and uploading them to Instagram. At the time, I thought nothing of this innocent activity and had no idea it would lead to so much stress later down the road for me. Now that I've gotten all the pesky details out of the way, allow me to introduce you all to the world of my spoiled little cousin, Trina. Trina's always been a handful ever since she was a little kid. I'm 13 years older than her, but even when she was a small child, she was cruel, rude to me, often belittling my appearance. My Aunt Linda often spoiled her and gave her everything that she ever wanted, and even my mom would often show preferential treatment to Trina since she was so young. Well, I was older, and no matter how much Trina deserved to be punished for her misbehavior, now Trina's 20 years of age, with no job, no future, no prospects. She dropped out of school and has recently become engaged to a man I absolutely detest, named Billy Bob. Yeah, it's a nickname, a man who's rude and vile and spoiled himself, making him a perfect match for Trina. The two of these losers are supported entirely by Trina's parents. Neither has a job or any desire to get one, and from what I can tell, they both just sit around posting nonsense on social media all day. To Trina's credit, the only thing I can see is that, well, she has going for her in her life right now is her widespread Instagram following. I have to admit, she's great at making her life seem more luxurious and exciting than it actually is. We've never been close in real life, but we both follow each other on social media. Trina has thousands of Instagram followers. Yeah, they're simps who cater to her every whim and send her gifts, and she also has a legion of young women who follow her fashion tips as well, and all her posts have a significant outreach and lots of reactions. With as many social media engagements Trina already received at the time, I thought nothing of my posting pictures of my new mansion, and I did not even think Trina would see the post. She has thousands upon thousands of profiles to sift through in her Instagram feed, so why would she see mine? I only have a dozen or so followers because I'm a bit too old for social media. I'm just using it as a time killer, but Trina takes it so seriously. My pictures of the mansion have started, taking off and receiving a bit of engagement, and eventually Trina noticed and messaged me about my new house. Full disclosure, this was the first time Trina had reached out to me in about 7 or 8 years. The last time she took the initiative to contact me, she wasn't even interested in how I was doing. She was just asking for money. I told her no. So when I saw that I had an Instagram message from Trina, I did not have high expectations for the contents of said message. Frankly, I expected her to be asking for money. Instead, the message was nice and friendly. Almost too nice and friendly, considering how rude I knew Trina to be. Of course, as you would imagine, I was quite suspicious of Trina's goals in sending the message. She was asking how I was doing and offering condolences for my fiancé's untimely death at first. But then came the real reason for why Trina was talking to me. We had not been conversing back and forth for too long when suddenly a barrage of questions about my mansion started coming out of the woodwork. Each question getting more and more personal than the last. Finally, after much probing and prodding by Trina's persistent nosiness, I admitted that I had received the mansion in my fiancé's will. Despite the fact that Trina wants for nothing in this world since she's spoiled by the family, Trina seemed annoyed by the admission, almost as if she was jealous of me. Imagine that. Jealous of a woman who lost the love of her life all because I got a nice house out of the deal. Ugh. I would trade the house and the world and live in a tent just to get my fiancé back alive. I eventually ended the Instagram conversation and just began ignoring her. Then the next day, I get a knock at the door. Trina and Billy Bob had tracked down my mansion somehow and showed up at my door unannounced. To be fair, it would not be hard to find the biggest house in a small town like mine. I knew the entire town had to be spreading gossip about me already, and I knew Trina was addicted to gossip and would be privy to all what was going on. Still, I did not expect her or her annoying Billy Bob to show up unannounced like that. I tried to hide my frustration and just be polite, but after the two of them offered some shallow, unconvincing condolences to me, they started walking around my mansion. They were going into private rooms and just generally invading my privacy. They were walking around the house almost as if they had intentions of buying it. I, quote, joked that I was not selling the place, but they did not seem to notice I said anything. They were too transfixed by how nice my house was. Trina especially seemed annoyed that my house was nicer than her parents' house where she lived, and because she kept repeating this statement over and over as she persuaded the halls of my mansions. Finally, almost as if Trina and Billy Bob were in some sort of trance, the two of them looked at me and announced that my wedding would be the perfect venue for their wedding. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but they quickly assured me that they were indeed serious. I told them in no uncertain terms that I had absolutely zero intentions of renting my place as a wedding venue right after the death of my fiancé. But the two of them did not seem to get the hint. They even specified that they had no intention of, quote, renting anything, because they felt that I should just lend them my mansion for free, since we're family. I did my best to keep my cool, but underneath my exterior, I was feeling quite furious. To make matters worse, Mom and Aunt Linda immediately started calling me and hitting me up on social media after Trina and Billy Bob left my house that afternoon. They'd already heard that I had told them no, and apparently in my family you're not allowed to ever talk or tell about the great Princess Trina no to anything she wants or demands. Frankly, I had long grown tired of this unfair balance. It was a treatment that Trina was bestowed in comparison to the rest of the family, and undergoing the grief process after my lover's death was already too much to bear. I could tell I was going to explode eventually. And that brings us to why I'm writing this post today. Guys, just yesterday, while I was sitting on my couch trying to get some peace and quiet, sipping coffee and doing a crossword puzzle, I see a crowd of people being led by Trina right to my front door. My door was unlocked and they marched on through without even knocking. Trina and a bunch of strangers were inside my house and I was absolutely livid. Trina explained that she was just showing her wedding venue to her friends, as well as doing an Instagram live stream of the event. They began critiquing the decor and the house, talking about what would need to be changed, and Trina suddenly asked if I could lend her $50,000 just to help with renovations and decorations for the wedding. Could you believe it? This sent me over the edge, and I thought she was insane, and I exploded on the entire group. I called them all selfish idiots and demanded that they leave my property right now. Since then, I've been getting text messages from my mom and Aunt Linda telling me that what I did was mean and rude. Can any of you guys give me some advice here? Am I the a-hole for acting the way I did? I will appreciate any comment I get. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. Let's go ahead and check out some comments from the original post before we hop into update number 1, and comment number 1 says this. Wow, I'm genuinely flabbergasted at the audacity of some people. First off, I'm deeply sorry for your loss, and it's incredibly heartbreaking to see you go through such immense trauma while dealing with family drama. Honestly, your home is your sanctuary, especially during such a challenging period of your life. You're 100% in the right to want your privacy and not wanting it turn into a wedding venue. Also, who in their right mind walks into someone's house without permission? My advice, set very clear boundaries. If they cannot respect your wishes, especially in your own home, consider distancing yourself for a while. Your mental well-being should be the top priority. Comment number 2. First, sending you all the love and condolences for your fiancé. This entire situation seems a bit complicated. While it's easy to say cut ties, it sounds like you have deep-rooted family dynamics to deal with. If you have not already, consider seeking therapy, just to help process not only your grief, but also the feelings of being overwhelmed by Trina and the rest of the family. Maybe it's also worth having a sit-down conversation with your mom and aunt. Explain the pain that you're feeling and how their actions exacerbate it. Perhaps they don't truly realize the hurt that they're causing. And comment 3 before update number 1 says, Yikes! Trina sounds like an absolute nightmare, and her entitlement is off the charts. Your reaction was 100% justified. You're definitely not the a-hole. It sounded like your family has a history of enabling Trina's behavior. My advice? Invest in some security measures for your house. Maybe even consider security cameras or an alarm system. Your house is your space, and you have every right to keep it private. Especially now. Stay strong. Remember, sometimes it's okay to put yourself first, even if it means saying no. Update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back for an update. Thank you so much for everyone who's left supportive comments and good advice. I appreciate you all giving me a place to vent my frustrations, and it's also helped me a lot so far. Since so many people were asking for an update, I figured I would oblige. Since Trina and Billy Bob had already booked a date for their wedding and had made arrangements, invitations, and booked the wedding band, booked catering, and all sorts of things related to the wedding that could not be canceled at that point, I had to tell them no to using my house as a venue. This created a lot of friction, as you can imagine, and my mom and Aunt Linda kept pleading with me to go back on what I said, but I refused. Trina and Billy Bob ended up having their wedding at a cheap and dilapidated old church in town, one of the popular marriage spots for poor people. It was too short notice for Trina's parents to provide the funding for the extravagant wedding that they wanted. And once the change of venue became known to Trina's friends and Instagram followers, hardly anybody wanted to show. I skipped the wedding as well, which got me some rude comments from my family members, but I didn't care. I had no interest in supporting Trina and Billy Bob's rudeness, and I stand by my decision. Update number 2. Well, I'm back for yet another update, and I truly wish I did not have to do this. But I need to tell you all this story because it keeps getting crazier and crazier. Well, I knew Trina and Billy Bob had to be significantly upset by the poor turnout of their wedding ceremony, and I had not heard much for a few days since the wedding. I was just beginning to think that the dust had cleared and the drama was over, but I should have known better. After all, this is a spoiled rotten princess Trina we're talking about here. A woman who will stop at nothing to get what she wants. I should have been prepared for her desire to get some revenge on me for what happened. Sure enough, that's what happened, and I began receiving the usual phone calls and text messages from family members who were demanding to know how I, quote, could have done such a thing. I was confused, but I assumed the messages were in reference to me denying Trina access to my house as a wedding venue. Suddenly, everything became crystal clear to me. I logged into Instagram and had hundreds, possibly thousands of messages from strangers who were all accusing me of being a horrible cousin because I had, quote, sabotaged Trina's wedding. What the heck? Who were all these people, and how did they know who I was? That's when I checked Trina's Instagram page and her Facebook page, and ever since her failed wedding, Trina had been continually posting rumors, gossip, accusing me of having sabotaged her wedding. Since Trina had me blocked from communication, I could only see her post and was not even able to defend myself. Typical Trina behavior, I know. Everyone please help me out here. Do you guys have any advice? What should I do? I don't think I can get the police involved in social media harassment, as they'll likely just tell me to delete my profile. I can't even defend myself because I don't have enough followers or social media outreach. I could only use a bit of help if you're willing to give me that. Thank you. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm back for yet another update. I wish I could say things are getting better or slowly blowing over, but it could not be farther from the truth. I'm terrified as I type this. I'm still shaken from what just happened. Still, I must document this because I'm worried things are only going to keep escalating until something irreparable happens to take place. I know it's pretty late to be posting an update, but hopefully you'll all see this when you wake up. Just a few hours ago, Billy Bob showed up unannounced at my house. Let me preface this right. For a day or two, the Instagram harassment and phone calls and text harassment had stopped. I was no longer able to view Trina's Instagram profile or Facebook profile. At first, I just assumed that she had grown bored of messing with me and decided to move on and call it a day. I know that was wishful thinking on my part, but I truly just wanted this whole fiasco to be water under the bridge. Now, I think that things are only getting worse unless I can just put a stop to all this drama and nonsense once and for all. Billy Bob starts pounding on my door. It startled me as this was late at night and it was dark and stormy out. Billy Bob started screaming at me. I recognized from the sound of his voice and his demeanor from the security cameras at my mansion, Billy Bob was quite drunk. I told him to leave the property at once, and I informed him that I would not be opening the door to have a discussion. This angered Billy Bob a great deal, and he took a giant rock and threw it right through my stained glass window. The window? It was so beautiful, and I could tell it was not cheap from my late lover. But selfish and callous Billy Bob felt it was right to destroy it. I was livid and afraid for my life by this point, so I phoned the police. They dutifully and quickly arrested Billy Bob, who was still here, and it won't surprise you all to know Billy Bob had been arrested in town numerous times before police were well acquainted with his silly antics. Still, as I sit here typing this for you, I'm in fear over what happens next. Update number 4. Hey everyone, I'm back again for another update. A lot of you were asking about the results of Billy Bob's arrest. I did file charges against him, and I do intend on prosecuting him to the fullest extent of the law. Unfortunately, he's back out on the streets. Aunt Linda bailed Billy Bob out of jail, and I got rude and harassing phone calls from both Aunt Linda and Trina, blaming me for, quote, putting poor innocent Billy Bob behind bars. It's funny to me that they characterize him this way. He must not have told them that he drove drunk to my home, smashed a window with intention of assaulting me. Luckily, I have every second of his ridiculous incident caught on camera, thanks to my lover's foresight to install cameras all over the mansion. My fiancé knew it would be a target of degenerates like Billy Bob. Unfortunately, things are continuing to escalate. Now, I've even more drama to deal with, because I've received a letter in the mail today regarding a court summons which I'm required to attend. Apparently, Trina and Billy Bob are suing me for pain and suffering regarding the humiliation of the wedding. They're attempting to charge me and receive financial restitution in order to pay for themselves a whole new wedding. Wow. I knew the two of them would sink low, but I did not expect something this low. This is a frivolous, worthless use of the legal system. A complete abuse of the resources available to us for the justice in this country. And these two spoiled, rotten clowns are simply making a mockery of it simply out of spite for me, and it's absolutely pathetic. So now I have to find myself legal representation on top of all the stress I've been dealing with. Why won't these two losers stop messing with me? All of you who are reading this story, please give me a bit of advice, as much as you can give me. I need your support right now because I need to build a strong case. Update number 5. Hey guys, I know it's been a while since my last update. I've simply been too busy preparing myself for court to post anything new on here. This is going to be the final update to the story because I think this unfortunate, stressful chapter of my life has finally come to a close. I did not have much time to book a lawyer, and I noticed Trina and Billy Bob were foolishly opting to represent themselves in court. I decided I would do the same, and I felt like I had all the evidence I needed since all my interactions with them were documented. Text message, social media, or even security cameras that adorned my mansion. Still, I could not help but feel nervous while walking into the courtroom. After all, there was simply no telling what Trina and Billy Bob had up their sleeves. Of course, I could have relaxed if I had reminded myself that Trina and Bob, for all their conniving and selfish natures compelled them, simply were not the sharpest tool in the shed by any stretch of the imagination. They bumbled and fumbled all over the courtroom, and I suspected Billy Bob was even drunk. This was a violation of his bond. As I presented my arguments to the court, I provided video footage of Billy Bob's outburst. I provided video footage of Trina, her group of friends, walking into my house unannounced without my permission, touching all my belongings and going through my stuff. The court was clearly appalled by the audacity of these two, and they did not even seem to be aware of the court turning against them. In fact, Trina said to the courtroom that these videos were only proof that I was a bad cousin. Finally, after enough silliness, the judge declared that he had enough. He had Billy Bob arrested and thrown back in jail and revoked his bond so he could not bail out, and he stated that Billy Bob was clearly under the influence, clearly still a violent threat, and charged him with abusing the justice system. Trina was also charged a hefty fine as well, and ordered not to contact me or come near me. I left court the day and found Aunt Linda and Mom waiting for me at my house. I was scared, wondering what drama and criticism they had planned. Instead, they broke down crying and apologizing to me. They said that the court session had shown them Trina's true colors, and I accepted their apologies, and I'm ready to move on in life. While the apologies do not heal everything, at least I no longer have to deal with Trina. Thank you so much for reading and giving me advice. There's one comment I want to read because this story was wild. This comment, it's giving OP a little bit of advice. Here it is. It's absolutely astonishing to read this entire saga and see the lengths that people will go when their entitlement is challenged. From attempting to use your home without your consent, to social media slander and even a court case. It's a roller coaster of events, showcasing how critical it is to set boundaries, even with your family. But your resilience, OP, and sticking to your principles, even when faced with threats and emotional manipulation, is absolutely commendable. It's also a reminder that social media can magnify conflicts. Alright guys, that was the comment. I want to hear from you what you think about it, so drop your comments down below. My name's Mr. Reddito. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya!